The St. Louis Blues continue to impress.
Hey, this is Brayden Chen.
Subscribe to Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor-Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today on Locked On Blues, I'm going to talk to you about how life is great. 8. Yes, that is right. 8 wins in a row for the St. Louis Blues. First time since October of 2022. Playoff picture, and of course, are we feeling blue? We have a lot to get into on today's episode of Locked On Blues. Personally, I cannot believe that I will be having another Are We Feeling Blue Friday on this good of a note. So with all of that being said, before we dive into things, today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $200 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. The St. Louis Blues played the Nashville Predators last night for the final time this season. The two teams faced each other 3 times in the last 10 days, which is a lot of seeing the same team. However, the Blues were able to remain undefeated against the Predators this season. And I know what you're thinking, Haley, the Predators are not that good of a team. Well, while that might be a factual statement, they still have good players. They still have Forsberg, Stamkos, and that's the one thing that I dislike. It's that narrative that if a team maybe isn't the most, dominant team in the NHL, it doesn't matter if you beat them. Every single NHL team does have players that, in my opinion, are good players. So I feel like that's one thing that's kind of always bothered me a little bit about that narrative is the fact that the Blues still had to play a game last night that honestly I did not think they were going to win. In the first frame, Nashville had a 2-0 lead. I know what you're thinking, Haley. How did this come about? And I have to tell you, the Blues look sloppy. They didn't have that many shots on goal, and they just looked dysfunctional, disorganized, and I was very annoyed about it. They had plenty of opportunity, I would say. But again, you have to keep in mind that last night, Nashville knew they were on the brink of elimination. So I feel like for them, this game meant something to them. Obviously, being eliminated on home ice isn't ideal for any team in the NHL, but specifically Nashville, who had so much promise heading into the season from the national media. I did not think Nashville was going to be that good of a team this year. And I said that prior, and I said this on the Locked On NHL channel. Heading into the season, I said I don't think the Predators are going to be a good team. I just didn't suspect them to be this bad of a team, okay? Anyways, second period, Dylan Holloway scores, and he gave the Blues some life again. The lead that Nashville had was now cut in half. I have to say, Dylan Holloway has been unbelievable for this team. I'll touch on that in a little bit because in the third period, a little bit past the halfway point, Cam Fowler was able to get his 8th goal of the season. Again, a great pickup from Anaheim. And then finally, with about, I would say, 6 minutes left to go, the contest, Dylan Holloway scores again, giving the Blues a 3-2 lead. Now, I do want to say that Nashville almost did get a goal in within the last couple of seconds, which, again, is typical St. Louis behavior. But luckily, the buzzer went off before that actually happened. So I was, freaking out. I'm like, there's no way that this can happen. It almost did happen. But I want to touch a little bit on Dylan Holloway. 26 goals so far this season. And he was a player that people didn't really have maybe scoring more than 20 goals in this season. And I do believe that him being on the St. Louis Blues has given him so many more opportunities than he would have ever had on the Edmonton Oilers. And it's not that I'm trying to disrespect Edmonton because Edmonton does have a lot of great players, obviously, McDavid, Draisaitl, they have, Corey Perry, but they have good players, right? But I think the number one difference for me is that being on the Blues, it allows Holloway to play on that second line. So it gives him an opportunity to be a top 6 forward, whereas in Edmonton, you would not see him in that position just due to the caliber of talent that they have with some older players. But I want to talk a little bit more about Dylan Holloway's season this year with the Blues. He's played in all 74 games with 26 goals and 36 assists, giving him 62 points on the season. But what I think is most impressive is that he is plus 20 when he is on the ice, which is phenomenal. Penalty minutes, he only has 10. Power play goals, he has 6. He also has 13 power play points. No shorties yet. And his total ice time average comes about to 17 minutes, whereas 38 games that he played with Edmonton last season, it came out to about 11 minutes. So he's definitely getting more opportunity. He has 176 shots on goal. And I have to say, his faceoff percentage did take a little bit of a decrease from last season with Edmonton only at 42%, whereas with the Oilers, he was at 57%. But again, I cannot be upset about that. And I feel like, too, it's interesting, right? Because he was the 14th overall and he went to Wisconsin his freshman year, right? And again, born in Calgary, so he's one of those guys that's from Canada, which knows the importance of hockey culture, right? However, when it came to NHL Central Scouting, he did rank 12th amongst North American skaters in the NHL, which was really impressive for him. He was also named the Canadian Junior Player of the Year in 2008-2019. So again, he has a lot of good trajectory on his resume, but I feel like overall he's holding up to it, right? It's interesting because we can talk about the offer sheet guys and we can talk about, how Edmonton made a mistake. And I truly believe that they did. I think that the number one thing that the Oilers should have done was re-sign Dylan Holloway or match what the Blues offered. And by them not doing that, and I'm dismissing Broberg right now because I just want to focus on Holloway for a minute. I feel like it was a gamble. When you look at Holloway's stats from last season, even though he only played 30-some games, they were still pretty impressive. And I just don't understand maybe how Oilers fans are still defensive over what their organization did. If I was an Edmonton fan, I'd be pretty annoyed seeing a player that was supposed to be with our system thrive somewhere else. But that's just me. And again, and it is funny, but he's honestly just been such an outstanding player for the Blues. And I don't know. Like, I really just cannot believe how great Dylan Holloway is. And then, of course, you do have Philip Broberg. And I feel the thing about Philip Broberg is I feel like, he didn't play every single game this season, as we did talk about in prior episodes due to being injured and things like that. And he was the player that I suspected to be the better player amongst the two heading into the season. I will stand behind what I said because that's what he was projected as. However, I do feel like Holloway, just in my opinion, is the better player. But I feel like Philip Broberg, though, really excels offensively. I know he's a defenseman, okay? Left hand shooting defenseman. But he's only played 61 games out of the 74 games the Blues have played this season. 8 goals, 19 assists. The 19 assists is pretty big with 27 points total. But this is even more impressive. His plus minus is plus 21. So it's a good thing when Philip Broberg is on the ice. In 2019, Edmonton drafted him 8th overall. And again, I still feel like the Oilers fumbled the bag. I understand, right? Looking back, he didn't play that many games, right? And I can understand how Edmonton could just kind of dismiss these guys and move on. But seeing what they've done with the Blues, I just feel like there has to be an ounce of maybe a little bit, I don't know, just a sense of disappointment, a sense of maybe we messed up. And again, I don't want to speak for Oilers fans because I feel like whenever I talk about the Oilers, they come at me. Like, not the team, obviously, but the fans come at me and they make me seem like I'm this awful person, who just likes to hate on Edmonton. And while I do, okay, I'm not going to lie, like, I enjoy it because it's kind of like karma in a way. I feel like at the same time, Edmonton did it to themselves. If Edmonton was an organization that really cared about growing your young players, they would have signed these guys, but they didn't. And the St. Louis Blues did. And you know what? They are thriving here in St. Louis. And I am so proud of Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway. Hollywood Holloway is what we call him. And I am happy that they're here repping the Blue Note. And this is what is best for them. Being in Edmonton, they would have not thrived the way they have this season. So I understand Oilers fans might be, oh, it was too hard to tell how they would actually do. You never gave them a proper chance, because I watched the Stanley Cup playoffs last year, okay? I hate watched it because the Blues weren't in it. And I'm like, man, but I love hockey. So I was hate watching it. And they both looked phenomenal. So again, when it comes to Philip Broberg and Dylan Holloway, I feel like that was one of the biggest mistakes any organization could have made. But you know what? They're thriving here in St. Louis. They love it here. And I'm hoping pretty soon they get that contract extension. But speaking of things that I love my friends over at FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's $200 in extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella stories, and even who's cutting down the nets. So right now, I am going to go to my FanDuel app. The FanDuel app is so accessible, easy to use. One of my favorite apps ever. It's better than Instagram for me because I also love to sports bet too, so that doesn't help me at all. But with FanDuel, as I said, it makes it easy. So right now I am looking at the Michigan at Auburn game, and FanDuel's great because they also make some parlays for you. So I think I'm going to take Auburn for the money line, race to 5 points. I'm going to also take Auburn, and then I'm going to also have Michigan to score over 45 points. So again, make sure to check that out only at FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. Playoff picture. Who would have thought that I would be on this podcast consistently for a week now saying that the Blues are in a playoff spot? But here we are, and I am loving my life. Anyways, let's go take a look around the NHL because we got some competition, okay? Now, in last night's game, I'm not going to lie to you. I was very, very mad about what happened. You might be wondering, Haley, you're so dramatic. What happened? The Washington Capitals did not beat the Minnesota Wild. So now the Wild get another 2 points. Why is this an issue? Because the Blues are still now back behind the Wild by 2 points for that wild card one. That is right. I am not satisfied with having, hear me out, with having wild card 2, okay? I want that wild card 1, and I am hungry for it. So right now, as I said, Wild sit at 87 points. The St. Louis Blues sit at 85 points. The Vancouver Canucks sit at 80 points. 2 games in hand, though. Calgary sits at 79 points, 3 games in hand. The Utah Hockey Club sits at 75 points. Okay, so 10 points behind the Blues. And then the Anaheim Ducks are at 70 points. And again, they're definitely not going to make it. We did have some more eliminations last night after we defeated the Predators. They're officially eliminated from the Stanley Cup playoffs. So in the West, 3 teams eliminated: the Preds, the Blackhawks, and the Sharks. Seattle's going to be next. They only have 68 points. I suspect that could be any day now. However, we still only have one team that clinched a playoff berth in the West, and that is the Winnipeg Jets, who have 102 points, leading the Central Division. And then in the Pacific, we had the Vegas Golden Knights leading. Didn't clinch a spot yet. However, they have 94 points, 5 points ahead of the LA Kings, and they both played 71 games, which is why I do not suspect that they're going to catch up. Just looking over friends at the East, because hopefully if things go right, we're going to be seeing them in the finals. But we do have the Maple Leafs, who are leading the Atlantic with 90 points, 72 games played. Behind, though, with 1 game in hand, is the Panthers, the defending Stanley Cup champions, 89 points. And then finally, the Tampa Bay Lightning also have 89 points, 72 games. It's a close race in the East. Metropolitan, one team is secured and locked in. Washington Capitals, 103 points, the most points in the NHL, even though they could not get the job done last night, which I am very disappointed in. So I'm a little bit, but they did shake the hand. The whole team did shake the hand of one of my favorite players growing up, Marc-Andre Fleury, because this is his final season. I'm actually looking, I have a Fleury VGK. I don't like the Knights. I like Fleury, and that's the only hockey sweater, this is a fun fact, that I have of a player who was on a team that I don't like, and I never even wore it, right? Just to have it, because when you watch, there's certain players, right, that when you watch, they make such an impact on you, and Flower really got me when I was a little kid into the game. Maybe it was just his personality and how hard he played. And I didn't like the team. Obviously, I don't like the Penguins. However, I can like the players. So I know, weird fact, but I feel like all of us hockey fans, obviously we're fans of our teams. Like I'm a Blues fan, right? But we all have maybe some memorabilia of another team just because of the player, not because of the team. Don't come at me. I don't want to regret telling you that. Okay, so underneath the Capitals, we have second spot in the Metropolitan is the Canes, 90 points, followed by the New Jersey Devils, a little bit of a fall from the Canes with 83 points in that third spot. But again, wildcard race, it's tight. Ottawa Senators have wildcard 1 with 81 points. The Montreal Canadiens have 75 points, wildcard 2. The Canadiens lost like 6-4 to the Flyers last night after they lost like 6-1 to us. So in the past 2 games that they've played, they've let in 12 goals, which is actually insane. And I'm sure their coach Martin St. Louis is not happy about that. Anyways, the Islanders, they were fighting for a playoff spot, 74 points, 71 games played. So again, it could be anyone's game. The Rangers, same thing too, 72 games played, 74 points. Oh, guess what? It continues because the Blue Jackets, 73 points, but only 70 games. And then we take a look at the Detroit Red Wings, 72 points, 72 games. And I guess you can't count out the Bruins yet, 69 points, 73 games, and the Penguins. But I don't think they're going to make it, which is great. Anyways, why am I telling you all? Oh, by the way, no team has been eliminated in the East, despite the fact that the Sabres have 66 points and Philadelphia has 67 points. But I guess when you look at the other teams, like San Jose only has 49, which is crazy because there was such a problem for us. But yet San Jose always looks great with other. It's weird. Anyways, I want to take a look around the NHL right now. Just because I feel like this is important for you and I to kind of talk about who we need to lose. So right now, again, I'm annoyed. I'm frustrated because the Canucks are up 4-3 over the Blue Jackets. Need them to lose. That is the issue with the Vancouver Canucks, is that they just don't seem to go away. And that's going to be a team that I feel like we're going to have to look out for. It's the third frame. They have all 20 minutes left. So I'm hoping that the Blue Jackets pull this off because they do need this win. However, even if the Canucks do win, we still have, well, let me go check actually. Because I'm pretty sure, hold on. See, this is where I'm freaking out right now. And I'm trying not to freak out, but I kind of can't help it either. The Canucks, they have 80 points. They have 2 games in hand. So to say they win the 2 games, we will still have more points than them, but you just don't want to see the Canucks with 82 points and then we only have a 3-point, difference, which we have a tough slate of games coming up too. I'm freaking out. I don't like this. This is not fun. I'm not having a good time. I'm having a good time. I just don't like this. Okay. Anyways, when it comes to other games tonight, nothing too crazy. It's just the Canadiens and Canes and then the Jets and the Devils. So again, nothing that's going to really impact us here in St. Louis. But I hope looking at the playoff picture just gave you a better perspective of what we're up against and why we just need to continue being dominant, because we do have a tough slate of games. And it all kind of starts, I want to say, tomorrow for us, because here's the thing. We have the Avalanche tomorrow, right, in Colorado. Then we have the Red Wings. So, the Red Wings, I guess, are not as big of a problem, but the Avalanche are. So, the Blues, and I hate being like this person, even if they get 1 point, but even if they get 1 point, I don't think I'm going to be necessarily upset about it. my mentality is rack in as many points as possible, preferably in regulation, not even go to overtime. But if that's what happens, then that's what happens. But I'm not going to be somebody that's like, freaking out about it. All right, let's continue on because I want to talk to you about my friends over at 5 Hour Energy. How do you think I'm so energetic? It's 5 Hour Energy, okay? Daylight savings snuck up on us again. And if you're feeling like that lost hour of sleep, like me, 5 Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to power through. I've been staying up late watching hockey, okay? Who am I kidding? That's all I do is watch hockey. And I just don't get enough sleep. I have to wake up for the radio at 4 a.m. every single day. So I am sleep deprived, life deprived, everything deprived. But luckily, 5 Hour Energy has given me back my time in my day. So head to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue, raspberry, and peach mango. You can even build your own 12-pack or 24-pack delivered right to your door. Need one right now? Grab a 5 Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They're everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized. Hi. Hi. Oh, is this an Are We Feeling Blue segment? Well, with that being said, let's cue today's music. Oh yeah. We are feeling blue. That is right, St. Louis. The Blues have won 8 straight games. This team is the best team in the NHL, 14-2-2 since the break. I feel like I'm doing a WWE promo right now with how I'm talking. But this is a very Liv Morgan promo, but we are the best team, the most dominant team, the most exciting team in the NHL, the team that scores the most amount of goals since the break as well. When there is a team that you need to keep your eyes on, it is the St. Louis Blues. This is a team that is blowing my mind. Dylan Holloway, Broberg, even Justin Polk has redeemed himself. Braden Shen, Robert Thomas season, Bruzy. I mean, the list goes on and on. Cam Fowler, Ryan Suter. Dvorsky made his debut. Oh, also, I have other news for you. Snuggie, yeah, well, guess what? He's nailed with the Blues, and he'll be at practice on Monday. So when I am telling you that this is the most exciting time to be a Blues fan in the past couple of seasons, I am not lying. This is a team that is blowing not just my mind, it's blowing the national media's mind now, because I did have national media reach out to me today apologizing for the continuous disrespect. I think when you look at other teams in the West, sure, you want the Canucks because they have Quinn Hughes. But you know what we have? We have Robert Thomas, okay? We have Jordan Binnington. Okay, we have great, phenomenal players. And you know what? And this is what I am sick of, and I hate the disrespect when they underestimate guys that have won the Stanley Cup already compared to players in the NHL who have yet to touch the Stanley Cup. Because here's the reality of it, okay? And let's keep down the music and keep it real. There's players on the Blues who have hoisted the Stanley Cup, right? And you're going to tell me, despite, how great of a player Quinn Hughes is, that he's more I don't get it. Stop disrespecting the Blues. And somebody said to me, who's disrespecting them? I don't want to name drop because I'm not looking to come at people, right? I'm not looking to call people out, but I think you know who you are. And with that being said, I am just so excited for this game tomorrow against the Colorado Avalanche. But the St. Louis Blues, the most dominant team in the NHL since the break, 14-2-2, 8 straight wins in a row, best fans in the NHL. I'm enjoying it right now. Stay mad, Edmonton, because our players, okay, Holloway and Broberg, continue to shine. So as my girl Liv Morgan said, cry about it. And like always, let's go Blues.